हां सर, कोळेकर सर सुरू करा.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, one and all, and welcome you all in today's first session. Especially today's resource person, Professor Deore sir, Coordinator Dr. Manojkumar Devne sir, Coordinator Dhawale sir, and participant. I'm here to introduce today's resource person, Professor Sachin Deore sir. Professor Sachin Deore sir, currently working as a professor and head of department Pune, and also he has an additional charge of associate dean of faculty of humanities in SNDT Women's University Mumbai. Sir has completed his formal education uh, from basically from Pune University. He has completed his MSc in geography with a specialization of climatology from University of Pune. Sir, also he has completed his Bachelor of Law, that is LLB from University of Pune. Uh, Sir has completed his PhD on watershed management in general and soil erosion modeling in particular. He has an experience as a junior field assistant in project title National Ambient Air Quality Monitoring sponsored by the CPCB at School of Environmental Sciences, University of Pune. Sir undergone the basic training to operate the geodetic receivers at Indian Institute of Geomagnetism, that is IIG, Mumbai, and worked in this project on crustal deformation studies using GPS, basically. Sir has participated in 8-week NNRMS sponsored course in remote sensing and GIS application to the water resources at Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, that is IIRS, Dehradun. Uh, at present, he working as a professor and head department of geography, postgraduate studies and research SNDT Women's University Pune campus, Karve Road, Pune. Additional charge as associate dean faculty of humanities SNDT Women's University Mumbai. Sir has a total teaching experience near about 25 years. Some highlights of its the professional development. Uh, he has a chairperson of Board of Studies in Geography SNDT Women's University Mumbai. Also, he has a member of Faculty of Humanities Academic Council SNDT Women's University Mumbai. Board of Examination and Evaluation SNDT Women's University Mumbai. Board of Studies in Geography Shivaji University Kolhapur. Research and Recognition Committee Shivaji University Kolhapur. Board of Studies in Geography Dr. Homi Bhabha State University Mumbai. Board of Studies in Geography Maharaja Sayajrao University of Baroda, Baroda. Board of Studies in Geography Modern College Thakurli, Mumbai. He is working as a member of RRC North Maharashtra University, working as an author for the textbook of SSC Board of Secondary and Higher Secondary Certificate Examination Pune. In spite of this, he has sir has visited international. He has some international visits and presentation. Sir visited the Tampa, Florida, USA for his presentation of research paper entitled "Modeling of Soil Erosion for Kukdi River Basin in Maharashtra, India." Sir also visited the Moscow, Russia for presentation of his research paper entitled Malaria Spread in Changing Urban Environment of Thane district of Maharashtra. Uh, Sir working as a vice president in Deccan Geographical Society (DGS) 2016 to onwards. He is an executive member of Maharashtra Bhugol Shastra Parishad (MPB), life member of IIG, then life member of ISRS, life member of NA means Nagi. Uh, Sir has working as a development some professional activities. That is, he has an coordinator 2 days state level seminars, working as a secretary for the 2 days state level seminar recently in geography, jointly organized seminar with the Kannad Sangha Pune, Kaveri Group of Institute of School of Teachers and Climate Change. Worked as a organizing secretary for the national level workshop and application of quantitative techniques in geographic research. Uh, Sir has carried out so many projects. A few of them that he has carried out minor research project entitled Evaluation and Soil erodibility, and the associated land use, land cover in Bhama waterside using digital technology. Sir has also completed research project Khade Information System. Then he has presented in research project in the quantitative evaluation of soil erosion, a case study of Upper Bhima Basin. Uh, uh, some ongoing projects are there. Some ICSSR funded research projects is going on the social sustainability and smart cities. Four students completed their PhD under the guidance of Sir, and six has completed their MPhil under the guidance of the. So four students are working in PhD, and six are completing their MPhil under the guidance of Sir. Sir, one book is published by the Sir, Soil Erosion Modeling, and 24 research articles published in the journals. Participation in the conferences, seminars, workshops, and resource as a resource person. Chaired session in the various conferences, presented papers in 18 national international conferences, and participated in more than 20 conferences. Delivered a keynote address, delivered as a special lecture and refresher courses. Faculty development programs for the college and university faculty as a quality improvement programs. Sir has delivered speeches on the climate change, waterside management, land degradation, soil erosion, sustainability development. Uh, so with this, I'm making it very brief. In spite of this, it makes very long introduction. See, Sir has and working as a biodata is very huge. It is not a that on page, but he is working a lot for the in the geography fraternity. So I'm welcome you, sir, and I'm yeah, uh, 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 I will, sir. Please start your notes. Please speak. Thank you, sir. I'm requesting you, sir. Please, dice is yours, sir. Please.
Sir, please unmute yourself.
Okay, screen sharing चं हे नाही दिलेलं का? Okay, thank you so much for such a long introduction of mine, actually. So, Sandeep Polekar, thanks a lot. And at the beginning only, I thank the principal, SP College, head of the department, then Professor Dr. Manoj Devne, the entire team of the Department of Geography for giving me this opportunity twice to speak in this course of the research methodology. So, since it is a part of now to discuss on the core subjects, what topic I'm going to speak is on the soil and the biological aspects of the soil, basically. Okay, is the screen visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, so the topic what I have taken basically is the life and aliveness of the soil. In this, just to brief you about, I want to talk on the what is soil, then soil geography, a scientific discipline, since it is a part of basically the soil biology on which I'm going to focus more. And then the soil as a resource, why, how the soil quality can be assessed. And then in brief only, the soil formation process, profile, and all those things. And the most important aspect which I want to focus on the fertility and productivity and the soil, how soil is a living organism and what are the things that is harming to the soil health and what can be done to keep the soil alive. Okay, so first is about the, what is soil? So these are just the definitions you must have gone through, that the term soil is derived from the Latin word solum, means floor. And the other way the soil can be defined, or the, the meaning of soil can be explained, like it is just a loose material that covers the earth's surface. For a layman, soil is just dirt or debris, which is, formed because of the breaking of the rock particles, or we can say the debris. That is, a layman call it as a soil. Then the soil is made up of the rocks, what we call as a mineral material, then decayed parts of plants and animals, that is the organic matter content. It has air and water, and all these contents, or it constitutes the soil basically. The important part is the soil is as a living skin of the earth. And why it is known as a living skin of the earth, how it supports the ecosystem that we will come across. Then uh, it gives nutrients to the plants they need to grow. So because of the soil only, though, that nutrient supply can happen to the plants, and then plants gives that it as a food for the animals and humans to live. Now the thing, as I said, that about the geography of soil, basically uh, pedology or soil science, when it has started. So there were so many kind of works has been done, and the subjects basically began as a science, or the soil science, named as soil science, and then it has started around during the 19th and 20th century basically, about the soil geography when we talk about. So as a but when we say soil geography, it should be clearly recognized as a subdiscipline of both physical and human geography, because at the beginning the soil science was only known as a part of either the life sciences, then the geology part, since the soils are formed or the product of the rock thing. So it was just as a part of the geology. Then agriculture field that came, then it is termed as a part of agronomy, and then even botany also. So then in many instances, it is difficult to distinguish a clear line that separates soil science for soil geography. So a good paper then just 2 years back that came, that how a soil geography can be, I mean, exactly can be defined. And while just to let you know that while setting the paper, that there was one question was asked, that who is the father of soil geography, and the answer was given as the Dokochev. Now, just to tell you a little bit story about this, that German agronomist basically, the Karl Sprengel, he published his book in 1837, and there onwards, this subject or the focus on the study of soil as a, I mean, considering the geographical perspective has begun. So in 1877 and 88, then the Dokochev, he worked a lot in the Russia, because Russian government basically part wanted to work more on the soil for getting better product on the from the agriculture. And Dokochev worked on a lot on the geography in the soil by geographic perspective. So people many times call Dokochev as a father of geography. So he has credited with developing for scientific classification of the soils. So his contribution is making the classification where Chernozem is the class, then about the genesis and all. And then Dokochev himself refused to be associated with the field of geography. So he did not feel that soil science was linked to the geography, and wanted to do that because he was believing that the other parts or the other things are more, has important while studying the soil. And then his students, his name is Glinka, and he worked more in this soil under his guidance only. And then he came to the United States and he worked more on the soil science, and basically started soil geography as a separate branch, tried to develop the disciplines, the boundaries, the things what need to covered in that, and there onward this soil geography of soil has started. So my point was basically, so Glinka is known as the father of soil geography. Now why soil is as a resource? Because when we have to talk about the living thing, that it is as a living thing, what we can say, or the aliveness of the soil. So basically soil functions are classified in 5 categories. The first is it is a medium for plant growth. Then it is a recycling system where things get recycled. You must have heard about the different cycles, maybe carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle. It is habitat for soil organism, where soil organisms can grow, can multiply. Then it is also useful in the water supply and purification, the cycles, it has role also in the hydrological cycle to play. And the last is as a material it can be used, so engineering medium it provides. Now if we skip this engineering material part, if you see all these 5 or 4 functions of the soil basically are important, that indicates its importance in the ecosystem. So this is how the soil the services or the functions of the soil are important in the ecosystem. So considering the ecosystem, when we talk about the soil functions, then it sustains the biological diversity, then activity and productivity, which regulate the partition, water and solute flow. So this is what about the soil quality basically depends on the different factors which make the soil can be classified as physical, chemical, and the biological factors, and which are, if are the having the proper at the proper state, we call soil. So that defines the quality of the soil, and then that helps in maintaining the environmental quality. So to understand the environmental quality, again, air quality, water quality, and soil quality are the important things that defines the environmental quality, and one of the important aspects of the agricultural sustainability. So when we talk about the agricultural sustainability, one must consider about the quality of the soil. So what is soil quality basically? So the capacity of a specific kind of soil to function with natural or managed ecosystem boundaries, to sustain plant and animal productivity, to maintain or enhance water and air quality, and support human health and habitation. So these are the things which are getting affected because of the the type of the soil, or what we call it as a quality of the soil. So then this soil quality depends on what? So again, there are processes. I will just brief this process because again it is a very big topic to understand. But only thing, this in the process of soil formation, basically it starts from the weathering, where the parent the rock get disintegrated, and after breaking it comes into the smaller part or smaller portion, that is one part of it, and there onwards the other things that gets added into the soil. And as I said earlier, that organic matter content is one of the important aspect of the soil that gets added into that crushed material, and then the soil formation process starts, and which is the formed soil exactly, which has all this content at a proper place, which can support the plant life, is termed as a soil. So soil is not just the days, or it is not just, many times people use word dirt. It is not just the dirt, that it has the other content with particular proportion. When we talk about the processes, those are very important in different kind of the processes, and these are the parameters or the factors of soil formation which helps in the formation of the soil, we can say. Okay, so about the biological factors only I will focus. So just to brief, the first is parent material by which the soil gets formed. Its role is the mineral content basically that comes to the soil. It depends on what content that parent material has. Then second is the climate. Whatever processes takes place, it depends again on the climate, because as you know that the climate is the factor that has impact on the weathering, as well as what we can say the processes of the decomposition, where the temperature and the moisture content that matters a lot. Then next is the topography, again, which has a role to play. The slope and aspects are the important part. And the last one is the biological factors, basically. Now, when we talk about the life of the soil, what are the biological factors? Those are important one needs to understand. So first is the plant. The plants are grown in the soil. Soil is termed as a medium for the plants. And what medium exactly means, that it is not just the material where the plants can grow, but the meaning of medium here is basically it can provide that kind of surrounding, that kind of environment where a seed can germinate properly. Because for germination of the seed, not only the nutritional values, not only the what we can say the texture of the soil, but to maintain specific temperature, to have particular amount of moisture, and all other aspects, those are required. And that soil has ability to provide all those things. So it is termed as a medium for the plants. Then the animals, which are living on the soil, which are in the soil, and even there are various microorganisms of which the soil is a habitat, and microorganism has a different kind of roles to play when we talk about the ecosystem. In the food chain, basically, microorganisms are or those are the things that helps for different kind of the formation of the food, and the most important is the decomposition. So decomposition processes basically happens because of the microorganisms, and of course the human effect is also important in the soil formation. So these are the basically the factors of soil formation which helps in the formation of the soil. Time is again one more factor, because again when we can say that the soil is formed. So soil formation basically is a continuous process where continuously organic matter content keeps on adding in the soil, the things in the soil goes on changing, profile development keeps on happening, and then the time which what time requires for those processes is termed here as a time factor that is important in the formation of the soil process. And this time basically for formation of the soil, it takes millions of years to form a proper soil. Okay, and then when we talk about the totally formed soil or proper soil, there the profile matters. So that technically it can be studied as a profile. The importantly, basically to understand the properties, basically one should know that if we dig vertically, then we can found the ground, we are having the grass and what we can say the maybe the crops grown. From there, if we start up to the bedrock, there are different layers, and if one has to study those layers, then that is called as a profile. So how this profile matters then in different types of soils at different conditions, the levels and depths of all these profiles, or what we can say horizons, these are termed as a horizons, that varies, and it indicates again the properties of that particular soil. Okay, so here just to specify that the upper part is basically the part where which act as the medium to grow the plants, which has the organic matter content or the maximum organic matter content, what we termed as a topsoil. And then we have the A layer, and then again the B, C, and R layer. That R is basically the bedrock, and in between again different processes that keeps on happening, and that way the soil gets developed. Now the point over here is when we talk about again the health of or biological activities of the soil, then what things matters a lot. So one need to understand the soil by the processes those happens in the soil. So the microorganisms, or when we talk about the organisms, basically the soil is habitat of those organisms. Okay, so again the soils can be studied or understood by knowing its properties. So of course it has a physical, chemical, and biological properties. When one has to understand again the quality of the soil, then one can get it by these properties, because each thing again has some role to play while understanding the soil properties. So in the physical soil properties, basically are the soil texture, structure, color. Okay, so what way it affects? So these are the things basically that aggregate and bulk density, which can be measured. Then soil structures, basically these are the structures of the soil, and then the soil color, these are the physical properties of the soil. So when we talk about the texture, it is nothing but the amount of different size particles in the soil. So those can be classified again based on their size, and these are the classes basically can be made. So sand, which is the bigger by size, silt are little less, and clay is the smallest particle in the soil, and this is the way those can be classified. Now the percentage amount of these particles in the soil, that defines the texture of the soil. So when we talk as a clay soil, it means that it has more amount of clay content in that soil. When we talk about the sandy soil, and there are again different classes, what role this texture has to play basically when we talk about the quality of the soil, then basically it has again the processes of the what we can say the movement of the water, the bonding of the particles, and all those things depends on the soil texture. Okay, so the first property is a texture, physical. The second is a structure, where again people many times use word as a soil structure and soil aggregates synonymously, but there is a slight difference, that soil structure is the way in which individual particles are arranged into larger distinct aggregates. So aggregates are group of particles, basically we call it as aggregates, and how those aggregates are arranged is termed as a structure. So then how long that those aggregates or that structure can remain is called as its stability. And again, there are different measures to identify those things. Okay, I'm going a bit fast in this because these are just the concept I want to show. I want to focus more on again the soil life. Okay, so these are the basically soil structures by which the soils can be seen. ठीक है ना here, sir? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can ask me in between if you have anything. Okay. Okay, so this is about the soil structure, or these are the kinds of structure one can find, or the soil can be classified based on these structures. And then again, this is difference between soil structure and soil aggregates, what way it can be known. Okay. Now the soil color, basically it is a indicator of again the different soil types. By on the basis of color, soils can be classified, say black soil, red soil. You must have heard those words. And the causes of soil color basically are either the humus content or maybe the mineral content in the soil. So if the humus content is there in the soil, it gives blackish color to that soil. Whereas the iron compounds are having different, ions have different colors. So that kind of color that soil gets based on the amount of those ions in that soil. So this is how the soil color can be identified. So these are the physical properties of the soil. And of course, these are the important things when we talk about the soil quality. And the next is where I want to talk more about the soil crop relationship. So when we talk about the soil life, what is soil life basically? So try to understand a journey where the soil formation process takes place from the rock to get disintegrated. There onwards, it gets disintegrated into smaller particles. Then organic matter content gets added it in, and it gets the property of with the air and water content in it, having proper constituents, and it gets ability to grow the plants. There onwards, then its depth goes on increasing, profile development happens, and this is the way soil formation process takes place. As I already said, it takes millions of years. Now, in this process, when a soil is supporting material for or the basis for the entire ecosystem, it itself is known as a living identity. Because to grow the microorganisms in the soil, that helps in the growing plants, that helps in decaying, that helps in different kind of cycles that happens in the ecosystem, even the movement from atmosphere to the soil and soil to atmosphere. So the to provide habitat to that, that is what the life of the soil is, or that is called termed as a living nature of the soil. And then when again it turns, if it goes to the part what layman says as a debris, or what we call as a dirt, which don't have all these properties, so then that is called as a dead soil. So the dead soil is nothing but, if it is having at a larger scale, the process we termed it as a desertification. So what are desert soils basically? The soils in which the plants cannot grow, the soil which cannot which has no ability to support the process of the plant growth. And where plants cannot grow, again the reasons for the not growing the plants basically is the unavailability of the microorganisms or another living things in the soil. So then that is termed as the dead soil. So from the journey from the formation to get it the living nature to the desertification is the life of the soil is basically. I will just show you certain, what we can say, the clips on those basically will be more helpful for you to understand. Okay. Now the things comes, we look when we are more focused on the utility of the soil. So we use soil for the agriculture. So we focus more on the agricultural production, and our we thought more of the agricultural productivity. So again, there are two terms normally used in soil science, are the fertility and productivity. So do you know the difference between fertility and productivity? What's the difference between soil uh, fertility and soil productivity? Anybody knows?
I think those who have agriculture as the theme of their research should be knowing this.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, participants, please contribute.
If you don't know, let me know. So I can, little bit
Yeah,
more.
explain, sir. Explain, please.
Okay. Okay, fine. So basically, fertility is the crops needs nutrients just like people do. So again, try to understand the concept. When we talk about the crop production, normally it gets measured in what we call it as a yield. Also, the term used as a yield, which gets measured in the quantity. So we term it as a quintals per hectare or maybe the kilograms per acre kind of thing. So that is what the production of the crop, or we termed it as a yield. Okay. Now, when we talk about the nutrient content in the soil, now where this nutrient needs. So I can give again you an example that when we say that about the food, why the immunity of the people nowadays goes on decreasing, because what food we are having are, we are not getting those many nutrients what earlier people were getting from the agricultural, from the crops, from the agricultural fields. So now what it means exactly. So quantity wise, we are getting good things. Packaging wise, we are getting those things and very good packaged, things. But basically, the nutrient matters. How much nutrient content those food have. So when we talk about the nutrient, there the fertility matters. So soil fertility basically is its ability to provide nutrients to the plants. So what nutrient availability that soil has, first thing, and second thing, its ability to provide those nutrients to the plants. So now again, different plants require different kind of nutrients for their growth. So which are the fertile soils? Fertile soils are those soils which are having the n number of nutrients in it, which can provide easily those nutrients to the crops. So those are the fertile soils. Now those for the fertility of the soil again by way of, and then we know that what are the nutrient contents basically the plant needs, and if those contents can be are supplied to the soil, that way the fertility can be managed or monitor, what we say. But again, there are some drawbacks of providing more if those are given by the chemicals. So there are certain again drawbacks nowadays. People are talking more on that. So if the process is properly understood, that how it naturally happens, and if that is initiated more, so that will be more for the sustainable environmental things, what one can say. So now that is called as a sustainable agriculture nowadays. Okay, so the fertility is basically the nutrient ability of soil to provide the nutrient content to the plants, and it depends again on the what we can say the properties of the soil, what we call as a quality. And those properties are what, again, how much amount of organic matter that content that soil has, and chemically then the other chemical properties of the soil can be measured by measuring the pH, whether it goes more towards the acidic or the alkalinity. So that can be measured, and that is basically depends on the those are the factors of the soil fertility. One can get the soil fertility. Okay, so okay, but though these conditions if are not favorable, then that is not the fertile soil, one can say. So soil fertility basically, this is what they term as a soil fertility. And of course, the inappropriate management of nutrients can lead to the contamination of lakes, rivers, streams, and groundwater. And these are again drawbacks of providing more contents to the soil. And then what is productivity? So the productivity is basically is a term which is, as I already said, which is focused more on the yield. So the capacity of soil in its normal environment for producing a plant or a crop sequence under a specified system of management. So it try to understand this word, that is specified system of management. Okay. So in the productivity, not only fertility matters, whereas a specified system of management. And what is that basically? So what kind of surroundings there, which type of seed is sown in the field, what management practices are adopted in the field, and based on that the productivity varies based on that. So not only the fertility, of course, fertility is one aspect. It has impact on the productivity, but productivity basically varies on the specified system of management. If again we have to see certain things, then these are the differences basically. The fertility is considered as an index of available nutrients to the plants, as I already told that the availability of nutrients is nothing but the fertility, whereas the productivity is termed as that indicate a crop yield. Okay, then soil fertility is one of the factor of crop production, and the others are water supply. So if the crops are, I mean, the seed is sown in the field, what management practices are given, how much water is supplied, what kind of climatic conditions are there, it all has effect on the productivity. Whereas, so it is interaction of all the factors productivity is. Then soil fertility can be analyzed in the lab. As I said that these are the nutrients required for the plants. Okay, if we can find if those nutrients are there available in the soil or not, we can analyze the soil samples and can get. But whereas the productivity can be assessed in the field under particular climatic conditions. So here then one need to understand the surroundings which has impact on the productivity. So based on that only productivity can be assessed, not in the lab. Soil fertility is potential status of soil to produce crops, whereas resultant of various crop influencing soil management. So the crop factor that influence soil management. Then soil fertility depends upon physical, chemical, and biological factors, whereas the productivity depends on location, fertility, and physical conditions. Because when we talk about the other conditions, those are basically depending even on the location, where the climate is one of the important factor in that, and physical conditions. Okay. So soil fertility is a function of available nutrients of the soil, as we already seen, whereas the fertility is a function of soil fertility plus management plus climate. So one has to consider management and climate also to understand the productivity. Okay. Soil fertility is inherent property of the soil, whereas productivity is not an inherent property of the soil. Whatever nutrient content the soil has, or at maximum capacity it can have even supplied, or the practices are adopted that way, that is inherent, whereas in the soil productivity that is not inherent. And then the fertility of certain soil is same in all climates, because fertility is nothing but the nutrient content, so it is same whatever climates are there. But whereas productivity that differs according to the climatic variations. All fertile soils are not productive, because again one need to grow crops in the thing and depends on other parameters, then only it can be productive. So it depends on the practices or the management, whereas the all productive soils are certainly fertile. To get good production, soil needs to be fertile, so the productive soils are the fertile soil. So this is what the difference between these two. Now when people talk more about the agricultural production, many a times focus is only on the productivity, whereas the soil fertility one must consider when we talk about the ecosystem, because the nutrients, those or nutrient content or in the cycle, the nutrients that comes from the plants to animal, it goes in the ecosystem. When we talk about the human being, those nutrients that comes to the human being by this way. And so the living nature of the soil that helps in maintaining the fertility of the soil, which keeps the capacity of having more nutrients in it, and that way it helps in increasing the crops, one can say, in a particular area. Now what is then and when we talk about again the soil, a living organism. So basically a living organism, the when we you must have heard about the word biodiversity. So biodiversity basically, it depends on what and what are the factors that help in maintaining the biodiversity. And when we call soil as a what we say, the fertile soil quality wise, I'll just show you this clip. I think I need. I have to stop sharing and I'll share the top so you can hear. Okay, is the screen visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That distant and small spot in the cosmos is the habitat of approximately more than 2 million species and the product of billions of years of evolution. Most of this biodiversity is in the soil beneath our feet, but only 1% of soil species have been identified so far. This soil biota constitutes the greatest concentration of biomass of any part of the planet and is composed of an immeasurable amount of mega, macro, meso, and microorganisms. Each of these wonderful creatures plays a key role in the food chain that maintains the fragile balance of life in natural and agroecosystems. If these complex interactions become interrupted, it can cause irreversible impacts for life on Earth, including humans. So, why do we need soil biodiversity? Soils hold many unexpected secrets and perform unseen functions. The discovery of antibiotics has had a major impact on increasing human life expectancy. Soils hold many other potential medicinal functions and possible cures. The natural association between plant roots and microscopic fungi promotes better plant nutrition and growth, tolerance to soil pathogens, and adverse climatic conditions. Through their natural function and metabolism, soil microorganisms are capable of breaking down and denaturing certain toxic compounds and contaminants resulting from many human activities. Part of CO2 emissions into the atmosphere, derived from industry and agriculture, can be absorbed by plants and stored in soils thanks to microbial decomposition that may allow soil carbon retention for long periods of time. This invaluable service provided by soil organisms is key in climate change mitigation.
Okay, so it clearly indicated the way the soil protects the biodiversity. So as is said that only 1% of biodiversity or the species we just are known in the soil biodiversity. So soil is habitat of those many microorganisms, and the way basically the soil uh, helps in maintaining the balance of various gases. Again, those are get absorbed in the soil, and the way it again goes towards what we can say the nature. Okay. Okay, so I think you must be agree considering all this that the soil is termed as a living organism. Then what harms to the soil health? And when the thing is living, of course, the health matters a lot. And what is the soil health basically? So as the parameters or the properties which I told you are basically the indicators of the soil health, what kind of the quality that soil is having. So the another term basically that is used as a soil degradation. So the soil degradation is basically a process which lowers the current or the potential capability of soil to produce goods or services. So basically these are the services which are provided by the soil, and if the processes lowers that, then that is called as a soil degradation. Now in case of the soil again, if one need to understand the basically the what we say the biodiversity, okay. So the to maintain the symbiosis, what is symbiosis? So just to understand the process, basically the plant roots from the zone or the area from where it gets water. So there are various fungi, biological, what we can say, a class that helps those roots to get that water, and it has a symbiosis between what we can say all these things. I'll just show you again that symbiosis also. Sorry. Yes. Is it visible?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. So, is it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Plant, fungi, and bacteria is not only a great partnership, it is absolutely vital. Without these transformers of organic material, we would all perish in excess organic material. Returning to the question we asked previously about how we can improve the soil, the answer must be, ultimately, plants improve the soil on their own. They do this through the symbiosis between plants, bacteria, and fungi. Plants are really the only soil improvers. Here we can see a clear difference between an absorption system without and with mycorrhiza fungi. The plant on the left is entirely dependent on the pH value of the soil and the supply of minerals. The plant on the right has roots that are able to optimally self-regulate the pH level and absorption via mycorrhiza fungi. This results in a healthy absorption that works perfectly with organic fertilizers. Using this natural system, we will achieve healthy soil that in turn brings healthy plants that can produce healthy fruit and vegetables. The way we deal with our soil has a direct effect on the emission of CO2 and the nutritional value of our food. It's where the energy is stored. Disappear from agricultural land. The energy that the soil life needs to do its work. Without the humus, it is almost impossible to achieve. Organic material, we would all perish in excess organic material. Returning to the question we asked previously about how we can improve bacteria and fungi between an
Okay, so
absorption
here
system
basically
without
the thing is, if the synthetic fertilizers are used, and this is the area where organic fertilizers are used, what I tried to explain that the what symbiosis those bacteria, fungi has with the roots to grow the roots in the process of growing roots. So how it helps. So these are the roots where the organic things are given. And organic, of course, is again the natural thing where it has the natural ability to get, what we can say, the get absorbed in the soil, and that way it helps the life of microorganism in the soil. By that way it helps in growing plants also, and whatever the plants grow, it gets the food or the nutrients from quite larger area by this way, and we get the healthy food. That is what basically it tries to say in this film. So the important point is basically over here is, if one has to grow, I mean, what way the things can be done. Again, I'll go to my presentation. Okay. And then by this way, so organic farming is one way by which the soil quality can be improved or soils can be kept alive. So it clearly indicates that that intervention of human being should not be there. So it helps in maintaining the symbiosis. Then one need to protect even the soil biodiversity. And of course, at the end, I will show you how it can help even in the what we can say the reversal of the climate change, what way the soils can be helped or the natural cycles can be used in the reversal of the climate change. So when we talk about again the biodiversity, basically, okay, this is
On the other hand, deforestation,
what way things are
monocultures,
happening.
and the overuse and misuse of agricultural inputs degrade and reduce soil's health, diminish resistance to pests and pathogens, and cause biodiversity loss that jeopardize the delicate balance that took billions of years to evolve and specialize. We could not only lose a long natural history of specialization, evolution, and adaptation, but also soil's capacity to perform essential ecosystem functions. How can we restore, manage, and conserve something that we do not see directly, and of which we do not have full knowledge? It is our collective responsibility to raise awareness on the importance of soil biodiversity, promote technological innovation to preserve and enhance soil biodiversity, including ecosystem restoration, recognize soil biodiversity as a key provider of ecosystem services, and as one of the main nature-based solutions to face all the current global challenges. Invest in gathering better knowledge about the status of soil biodiversity and functions, including by region and land cover type. And develop policies based on scientific evidence to mainstream sustainable soil management and conservation of rich biodiversity soils across landscapes. Everything that we eat and drink passes through the soil biota over and over again. Therefore, we need healthy soils for healthy food, healthy environments, healthy people, and a healthy life. It starts with you. Give a voice to the sound of a living soil. Keep soil alive. Protect soil biodiversity.
Okay, so this is what the Food and Agricultural Organization is appealing to keep soil alive. So the first thing is about the living nature of the soil. What are the aspects? What are the factors? Those are important. And the second is to keep that soil alive. One need to protect the biodiversity. and what are the harms that are causing or that are affecting the biodiversity, basically are basically the anthropogenic factors or human interventions that are uh, increasing more, day by day, and misuse of the land or misuse of the soil, that or the ignorance, one can say, just to get the maximum yield, maximum what we can say, the quantity wise maximum food. The people are ignoring more on the basically uh, ignoring the soil to maintain its quality. So this is what basically the things FAO is trying to do the people. Now the interesting part of it is basically what are the reasons that what we are seeing, the sustainable goals, those are defined by the United Nations. And when those sustainable goals to achieve in case of the sustainability, basically, and the another aspects which is nowadays is more in discussion is about the climate change. So the climate change that is causing again what kind of impact on when we talk about the agricultural production. So can the things be done naturally by carbon sequestration, or that is also termed as the regenerative agriculture? So by which process the carbon comes? Again, this is having carbon basically is a living nature. The things, the living are made by the carbon. Then what way that carbon goes? So if that carbon is, or the carbon cycle is maintained properly, what way the atmospheric carbon can be minimized? So again, this is again the last this thing clip I will show you, which is basically a story. I mean, it is a story of soil called as a kiss the ground. So again, this kiss the ground is a the foundation. Those people work more on this, and this is a soil story which basically says about the carbon sequestration. Okay, so we just see that story, then we'll have more discussions.
Most people, you're probably feeling a little hopeless about climate change and the damage we've done to our planet. Well, now there's a new way to look at climate change and how to deal with it that might just turn that hopelessness into hope. Climate change, as we know, is all about too much carbon in our atmosphere. But carbon is not our enemy. It's the building block of life. Everything alive is made of it, even us. The problem and the solution are simply a matter of balance. Let's step back and look at the 5 pools where carbon is stored on planet Earth. Starting about 500 million years ago, when plants first appeared on land, carbon began to cycle in an amazing balance between these pools, a balance that allowed for life as we know it to evolve. Then one life form, that would be us, figured out how to extract carbon from the fossil pool, which was pretty much a timeout zone for carbon. We've been burning it for energy, putting into play, and disrupting that balance. The way we manage land and do agriculture is moving even more carbon into the atmosphere. Specifically, we've moved 880 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is heating up the planet and destabilizing our climate. The oceans have absorbed a lot of this excess carbon, throwing off the ocean's balance, resulting in ocean acidification and accelerating a mass extinction of sea life. So in order to save life as we know it, of course we need to stop burning fossil carbon. The big question is, where do we put this excess carbon to get the cycle back in balance? The good news is that the answer is literally right under our feet. It's the soil. Plants, using sunlight and water, naturally perform photosynthesis. They pull carbon in from the air and turn it into carbohydrates, sugars. Then they pump some of these sugars down through the roots to feed microorganisms who use that carbon to build healthy soil. Voila, carbon moved. The plants pump it in and the soil stores it. Nature's living technology is amazing. Scientists have recently discovered that applying a thin layer of compost can help regenerate healthy soil, setting up an ongoing feedback loop that brings more and more carbon into the soil each year. Together, With other regenerative practices, like not tilling the soil, planting trees and cover crops, and planned grazing, we can build and retain billions of tons of soil carbon. This is carbon farming. This is regenerative agriculture. Unlike more carbon in the atmosphere, more carbon in the ground is good for us. It makes healthy soil, which is nutrient-rich and full of life and holds way more water. This means more nutritious food and crops that are more resilient in the face of drought. That's good news for farmers, families, and everyone who eats. Remember this: the way we grow our food, fiber, and fuel either puts carbon up into our atmosphere or pulls it down into the ground. The regeneration of soil is the task of our generation. Our health, the health of our soils, and the health of our planet are one and the same.
Okay, so this is about again the what we can say, the way the carbon sequestration can be done naturally. So the thing is basically these are the processes. Being a geographer, we need to understand that naturally what are the cycles, the processes, how it plays. So role, when we talk about the soil, the role of the soil, many of this people, they study the soil, its properties or the variation, or many of you might have been working on the agriculture. So the variation of agricultural productivity, where or even the practices those are adopted in the agriculture. So one need to consider all these aspects, that can it be done sustainably to get more production or to get more, what eco-friendly or the environment friendly, one can say, that the way the carbon sequestration can be done. Okay, so organic farming again is a one way by which that way the organic things can be used for the agriculture, or can be added more in the soil, and this is the way the living things in the soil or the living nature of the soil can be protected. Now things are going wrong basically. So first is, when we talk about the, as I just touched before about the degradation. So degradation is basically not only the erosion, where erosion is one part of that may be because of the wind, or maybe because of the running water, or there are various types of the erosion, but there are chemical degradation, biological degradation, that plays a very important role when we talk about the degradation. And so the processes basically that diminishes or destroys the agricultural crop or livestock, and the forest protection capacity of the land, that is termed as the land degradation. Okay, so decline in the capability of the soil to provide ecosystem services is nothing but the degradation is. And these are the another ways by which the land gets degraded. And if we see the total area of the land, total land degradation amount, or the, what we can say, the numbers. So I'm talking about land degradation, not soil. There is again difference between the land and soil. So the land degradation basically, world's 30% area is under threat, which is having the degradation. 20% of the cultivated area and 10% of the grasslands are undergoing degradation. So this data is of 2016 basically. So this is the these are the ways the processes are happening in the world, if we see about the world. And if that is not, looked properly, it may harm a lot. And the amount of chemical degradation is basically 12% in the soil degradation we talk. Of course, the water and wind erosion contributes a lot in it, but these are the what we can say, the amounts that those are again one need to understand. Okay, and then we talk about again what way it can be understood, what way it can be studied. So many people then, by using the what we can say, the remote sensing technologies, can get the different aspects of the soil to understand the aspects of the soil and worked on the soil. So that way then quality can be assessed, and quality, as I already said, that it's capacity of the soil, and then certain indicators which can be obtained either from the laboratory, and there are certain indicators which can one can get those indicators from, I'm sorry. So those indicators can get, one can obtain from the remotely sensed data, or there are many which can be obtained from the field and can be tested in the laboratory, and that way the measures can be taken for the what we can say, the to protect the degradation of the soil, to understand exact content of the degradation of the soil, and to understand or to suggest the measures in particular area which may help basically for what one can say, the protection of the soil uh, degradation. Okay, so, and as I said again, when we talk about the life of the soil, that ends at, again, this is the way the quality of the soil that gets degraded at a stage comes when a soil cannot grow in this thing. Okay, yes, Kanchan, after, do you want to ask some? Kanchan Apte? She raised her hands.
Yes, Kanchan ma'am, do you have any query?
Okay, fine. Fine. Okay, so my point was basically, so that desertification, then if we see again, the amount of desertification has increased tremendously. The more lands are becoming infertile, or what we can say, the qualities are getting degraded. There are again various kind of the things when we talk about the chemical degradation, by increasing more salts in the areas, or maybe by way of uh, decreasing the soil capacity to protect the biological content in it, and that is what the desertification is. So then uh, when land degradation, when it leads to desertification, basically what is desertification? So desertification is nothing but the land degradation in arid, semi-arid and dry subhumid areas resulting from various factors including climatic variations and human activities. So it is the process where the land degradation takes place, and that normally happens in the arid, semi-arid and dry humid areas, that results from the various factors, and this is the definition given by the United Nations. So now the while the farmers holds the title to the land, actually it belongs to all people, because civilization itself resides on the soil. It is what the said by Thomas Jefferson. So though it holds by somebody, but actually it belongs to all people, and so the people or even the farmers needs to protect that land, must take the precautionary measures, or what we can say, the measures to protect the degradation in that particular area, for what one can say, the protecting the land from the degradation. Okay, so with this I think I will stop.
Okay. The session is open for discussion. Participant, if they have any query, please ask.
I'm sorry, actually I'm suffering from cold and this thing.
Yeah,
Continue.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We will have more discussion. Not much relief. may be getting more interruption while in my speaking also maybe.
No, not exactly, but we can feel you're not well as far as the throat is concerned. Yeah, participants, some questions you may have regarding your topic and soil, you can raise them with sir.
Is there anybody working on soil?
No, sir, I don't think so. They are working on agriculture, I suppose.
Okay, okay. So those can ask.
Yeah.
In the soil, normally I will say in all this is basically the students, they give the the types of the soil in that particular area. It's one of the what we can say the geographical aspects, whatever normally the second chapter gives it, the profile of the study area, maybe it covers the soil.
Yes, Kishore sir, you
Yes.
can ask.
हा देवरे सर नमस्कार.
Yeah, namaskar.
सर माझा सॉइलच्या संदर्भात एक प्रश्न असा
हा,
आहे,
बोला.
सॉइल आणि इरिगेशनच्या संदर्भात. जे
हो, हो.
आमच्या तिकडे जी शेती आहे सध्या, ते शेतीमध्ये जे केमिकल म्हणजे फर्टिलायझर, ऊसाची जी शेती आहे त्याचं प्रमाण वाढल्यामुळं ती
हम्म.
पूर्ण सॉइल आता तिचं जी उत्पादन क्षमता आहे, हा उत्पादन क्षमता
तो म्यूट झाला सर.
हा
हा, बोला.
हॅलो, येतोय सर आवाज?
हो हो, येतो येतो आता बोला.
हा ती सॉइल म्हणजे क्षारयुक्त बनली आहे आणि आता उत्पादन बरचसं घटलेलं आहे, ऊसाचं टनेज वगैरे. तर आपण सॉइल डिग्रेडेशनच्या संदर्भात पण विचार करतोय, पण हे इरिगेशन चा तिथं प्रभाव आहे, फर्टिलायझर.
मी अर्थात ना, तेच तर मी सांगितलं, नॅचरल लाईफ सस्टेनेबल डेव्हलप अग्रिकल्चर मध्ये बेसिकली ते जर आपल्याला योग्य राखायचं असेल तर अति जलसिंचन आणि अति कृत्रिम खतांचा वापर, रासायनिक खतांचा वापर हा हानिकारक असतो. आता अति जलसिंचनामुळे हेच जे म्हणजे सॉइलचे जे मूळ घटक आहेत त्याच्यामध्ये हवा आणि पाणी दोन मध्ये एक संबंध असा असतो की जे तिथल्या सूक्ष्म जीवजंतूंना आवश्यक असतात जमिनीतल्या, आणि ज्या वेळेला खूप जास्त प्रमाणात पाणी असतं जमिनीत त्यावेळेला हवेचं प्रमाण कमी होतं आणि त्याच्याने सूक्ष्म जीवजंतूंचं प्रमाण कमी होतं, जे बऱ्याचदा ऊसाच्या शेतीच्या बाबतीत घडतं की ओव्हर इरिगेशन जास्त प्रमाणावरती होतं, कायम त्या जमिनी ओल्या असतात, त्याच्यामध्ये इरिगेशन तितकं चांगलं होत नाही. दुसरं, न्यूट्रिएंट कंटेंट वाईज जर आपण विचार केला तर बऱ्याचदा नत्र जे आवश्यक असतं जमिनीमध्ये बऱ्याचदा त्याचं प्रमाण कमी होतं, कारण एकच एक पीक बराच काळ ते शेतीमध्ये असतं आणि म्हणून त्याचा परिणाम असा होतो की ते कंटेंट, ते न्यूट्रिएंट त्या जमिनीतलं कमी होतं आणि म्हणून जमिनीचं सुपीकता बेसिकली कमी होते आणि त्याचा परिणाम हा उत्पादनावरती होतो. आणि म्हणून इरिगेशन म्हणण्यापेक्षा ओव्हर इरिगेशन हे त्याच्या मागचं मूळ कारण. कारण त्याच्यातलं इरिगेशन मध्ये वनस्पतीला त्या पिकाला लागणारं पाणी जर आपण विचारात घेतलं बेसिकली तर ते पाणी, ते प्रमाण तसं खूप कमी असतं आणि प्रत्यक्षात जे पाणी दिलं जातं ते खूप जास्त प्रमाणावरती पाणी दिल्याचे ते दुष्परिणाम असतात आणि म्हणून असे प्रश्न निर्माण होतात. आणि शाश्वत शेतीमध्ये ही संकल्पना आहे बेसिकली की कृत्रिम घटकांचा शक्य तितका कमी वापर करणं किंवा नाही केला तर जास्त उत्तम असं.
हा सर, त्याच अनुषंगाने प्रश्न असा आहे,
हा.
शेतकऱ्यांना आपण किती जरी सांगितलं की तुम्ही ड्रीप द्या, ड्रीपनं पाणी द्या, केमिकल फर्टिलायझर ऐवजी सेंद्रिय ऑर्गॅनिक वापरा खत, तर ते मानसिकता नाही सर शेतकऱ्यांची. त्याचाच परिणाम असा झालाय की आता त्या ठिकाणी पूर्ण पाणी क्षारयुक्त झालेलं आहे. म्हणजे
बरोबर.
पिण्याला पाणी अक्षरशः 2-2, 3-3 किलोमीटरवरनं पाणी आणावं लागतं, चांगलं गोड पाणी. पूर्ण क्षारयुक्त पट्टा झालाय तो. म्हणजे आता याला काय पर्याय काय आता असं
नाही
जनरली
याच्या
माझा त्याच्यावर पेपर चालू आहे सर.
हा?
ज्यावेळेस पेपर करतोय त्यावेळेस ती अडचण मला जाणवली
हा,
की
हा.
आपण शेतकऱ्यांना किती सांगितलं की बोरवेल घेऊ नका जास्त खोलीवरती, तर ते घेतलेच जात आहे. शासकीय पातळीवर असं काहीतरी त्याच्यावर कायदे व्हायला पाहिजे असं मला वाटतं. कारण आज 200, 250, 300 फुटाच्या पुढे बोर गेलेत आणि ते क्षारयुक्त पाणी, त्याच्यामुळे सॉइल डिग्रेडेशन होतच नाही. त्या अनुषंगाने.
नाही, प्रॉब्लेम कसा आहे तुम्हाला सांगतो. हा इन जनरल मुळात गोष्टींची माहिती आणि एकूण गरजा याचा जर आपण विचार केला ना, तर आपल्याकडे कसं आहे की आपल्याकडे स्पर्धा ह्या पैसा जास्त मिळवण्याच्या, उत्पन्न जास्त मिळवण्याच्या अशा दृष्टीने असतात नेहमी. आणि यातलं ते गांभीर्य यामुळे पुढे होऊ शकतंय तितकंसं जाणवत नाही बऱ्याच. आणि म्हणून याच्यावरती त्या प्रकारच्या चर्चा होणं, लोकांनी एकत्रित येऊन त्याप्रमाणे करणं काहीतरी, तर ते घडू शकतं. पण आपल्याकडे त्याच्यावरती एकूणच इन जनरल तुम्ही जर बघितलं तर किती बाकी गोष्टींकडे फोकस असतो, लोक याच्याकडे किती बघतात ना, ही शोकांतिकाच आहे ना आपल्याकडे. आता याचं एक उदाहरण तुम्हाला देतो की हेच मटेरियल सॉइलवरचे जर बघायला गेलं ना, तर तिथे युनायटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ सॉइल असोसिएशन आणि इतर बरेच असे आहेत की ज्याच्यामध्ये प्रचंड काम लोकांनी केलं. त्याच्यामध्ये एक ग्रुप तर मला असं सापडला की सगळे रिटायर झालेले या लोकांनी एकत्रित येऊन आणि नंतर त्यांचा एक फोरम तयार केला. आपल्याकडे असं कोण किती करतं मला सांगा ना, ओव्हरऑल विचार केला तर. किंवा हे क्षेत्र याच्यात काहीतरी काम सारखं आहे, याच्यामध्ये लोकांना जाणीवा निर्माण केली पाहिजे, आपण आणखी काही करायला हवं याच्यात, अशा प्रकारचं एक वातावरण जे लागतं ना मुळात ते नाहीये. आणि म्हणून ही अडचण निर्माण होते. तेच हवामानाच्या बाबतीत सुद्धा होतं ना बऱ्याच.
लोकांमध्ये जनजागृती होणं गरजेचं, स्वतःला जाणीव शेतकऱ्यांना.
ते त्याच्यातनंच होईल जेव्हा आपण याच्यावरती सारख्या चर्चा करत असू, हे प्रश्न आहेत म्हणून याला महत्व देत असू. कारण आता झालं काय, आपल्या समोर फार वेगळेच प्रश्न आहेत. जगाचे प्रश्न निराळेच, आपले प्रश्न निराळेच असं आहे.
वेगळे.
हा,
थँक्यू सर.
त्यामुळे जे आपल्याशी निगडीत आहे त्याच्यावरती माझा मुद्दा असा आहे की चर्चा मोठ्या प्रमाणावरती व्हाव्या.
आणि खाली लोकल पातळीला पर्यंत पोहोचलं पाहिजे.
हा, मग ते आपोआप जातील ना, एकूणच सगळ्या लेवलला ते झालं की ते आपोआप लोकल पातळीला पण पोहोचेल आणि त्या पद्धतीने लोक तिथे. कसं असतं, कायदा आणि नियम करून नुसतं तुम्ही असं करा असं म्हणणं बऱ्याचदा इतकं योग्य अशासाठी होत नाही की मूळ स्थानिक इतर काही प्रश्न आणखी निराळे असतात, मग त्याला पर्याय पण द्यावे लागतात ना.
बरोबर.
उद्या जर त्याच्यावरतीच त्यांचं उत्पन्न असेल आणि ते चाललंय काहीतरी प्रकाराने तू करतोय, मिळवतोय, ते एकदम बंद होऊन पण चालणार नाही ना. दुसरं असं आहे की काही उपाययोजना करायला जर त्यांना खर्च करावा लागणार असेल तर तो पण बऱ्याचदा त्यांना होत नाही किंवा अवघड वाटतं, म्हणून पण अडचण.
थँक्यू सर. थँक्यू.
छान आहे, पण छान
गोकुळ जाधव सर.
येस जाधव सर.
येतोय सर आवाज? हॅलो.
हा, येतोय. बोला.
सरांचा जो मुद्दा होता ना त्याच्यावरचं एक ग्राउंड फील्डचं एक माझं जे वैयक्तिक ऑब्झर्वेशन आहे ते थोडंसं मी इन्क्लूड करण्याचा प्रयत्न करणार होतो. रुरल रिजन मध्ये बेसिकली सर जे आहे ना की इरिगेशन पॅटर्न जो आहे तो प्रॉब्लेम नाही. बहुतांशी जे छोटे शेतकरी आहेत ना तर त्यांचा प्रॉब्लेम असा आहे की एकत्रित समजा जुनी विहीर असणं किंवा त्याच्या ठिकाणी रोटेशन असणं आणि त्याचबरोबर कॅनलचं इरिगेशन असेल तर त्याचं रोटेशन असलं तर त्यांना ऑप्शन नाही राहत. म्हणजे जर समजा 10 दिवसाला रोटेशन आलं तर पुढल्या 10 दिवसांनी जर त्याला आलंच नाही पाणी तर तो काय करतो, ओलं जरी पाणी असलं तर त्याच्यामध्ये पाणी सोडून देतो, त्याला त्या ठिकाणी ऑप्शन राहत नाही. किंवा जर समजा त्यांच्या वैयक्तिक छोटं जर शेतकरी असेल तर 3-4 जणात मिळून एक विहीर असते आणि मग त्याची जे रोटेशन 4 दिवसाला किंवा 2 दिवसाला त्याचं रोटेशन येतं, त्यामध्ये ती जमीन वापसेवर आलेली आहे किंवा नाही याचा त्याला अंदाज येत नाही आणि त्याच्या रोटेशन मध्ये त्याला फक्त त्याच्या शेतामध्ये पाणी सोडायचं. याच्यामुळे सुद्धा ते जे सॉइल वॉटर बजेट आहे तर त्या पिका संदर्भातलं ते सॉइल वॉटर बजेट त्या ठिकाणी फुलफिल होतं. एक म्हणजे लोकल लेवलचा आणि माझा पर्सनल एक्सपिरियन्स आहे त्याबद्दल, मग त्या क्षेत्रामधला एक इन्क्लूड करावं वाटलं म्हणून.
नाही, अगदी बरोबर. तेच म्हटलं मी, त्या ठिकाणची परिस्थिती समजून घेणं खूप महत्वाचं असतं. कारण आणि मग त्याला पर्याय काहीतरी द्यायला पाहिजे तसे की ते तसं ऍडजस्ट करणं, सिंक्रोनाइज करणं वगैरे असं जर काही होऊ शकलं तर ते कमी करता येऊ शकेल.
हा सर, सर केशव जाधव.
हा, बोला.
सर ग्रामीण भागामध्ये दिवसेंदिवस सर इंडस्ट्रीयलचं सर सेंट्रलायझेशन झालेलं आहे. म्हणजे छोट्या छोट्या पॉकेटमध्ये इंडस्ट्री स्टार्ट केल्यामुळे इंडस्ट्रीयल वेस्ट जे आहे हे नद्यांच्या मध्ये किंवा ओढ्यांमध्ये डायरेक्ट सोडलं गेलेलं आहे. त्यामुळे होतं काय की नद्यांचं पाणी किंवा ओढ्याचं पाणी हे डायरेक्ट शेताला इरिगेट केल्याच्या नंतर, लिफ्ट केल्याच्या नंतर काही नायट्रेट्स किंवा पायराइट्स डायरेक्ट पिकांच्या मध्ये उतरतायत किंवा हीच पिके जे जनावरांना चारा म्हणून जी आपण पिके घेतो, तर जनावरांच्या दुधामध्ये किंवा मांसामध्ये हे केमिकल हे उतरत आहेत सर. ऍक्च्युली गव्हर्नमेंटची जी पॉलिसी आहे की अलीकडे की आपल्याला काय म्हणतात, ऑर्गॅनिक फूड मॅटर आपल्याला हवंय आपल्या शरीरासाठी, परंतु गव्हर्नमेंटनं तर सर सगळं केमिकल झोनवरती फोकस केलेला आहे. ऍक्च्युली कुठेतरी ते कंट्रोल आणलं पाहिजे केमिकल झोनवरती, कारण माणसाला जगण्यासाठी सगळ्या ऑर्गॅनिक मॅटरची गरज आहे, ऑर्गॅनिक फूडची गरज आहे. आणि मग आपण सगळं शेतीला सगळंच सर केमिकलच त्याचं पाणी देणे, इरिगेट करणे, पुढे मग सॉइल प्रोडक्टिव्हिटी कमी होणे, या गोष्टींना आपल्याला शेतकऱ्यांना सगळ्यांनाच फेस करावं लागत आहे सर. म्हणजे मला सांगायचा मुद्दा हा आहे की गव्हर्नमेंटने केमिकल झोनवरती कुठेतरी बॅन आणलं पाहिजे आणि त्याला पर्याय म्हणून काही ऑर्गॅनिक प्रोडक्ट शेतीसाठी डिझाईन केले पाहिजे असं मला वाटतं सर.
बरोबर बरोबर, व्हेरी ट्रू. की ते जे रासायनिक याचे जे दुष्परिणाम होतात ते कमी करायला पाहिजे. आणि ऑर्गॅनिक प्रोडक्टच्या बाबतीत आपल्याकडे आता बऱ्यापैकी त्याचं एकूण प्रमाण वाढतंय खरं. म्हणजे सेंद्रिय शेती खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणावरती होते, पण बऱ्याचदा त्याचाही पुन्हा कॉस्ट वाईज जर विचार केला तर ज्या प्रकाराने मिळायला पाहिजे रिटर्न्स तसे बऱ्याचदा मिळत नाहीत. आणि इतर काही जसे ऑर्गॅनिक नावाने वेगळं काहीतरी विकलं, मग लोकांचं काहीतरी हे झालं, असे काही दुष्परिणाम त्याचे जाणवतात दुर्दैवाने. त्याचे परिणाम एकूण प्रक्रियेवरती होतात. सो ते नाही झालं तर एकूण ऑर्गॅनिक शेतीचं प्रमाणही बरंच जास्त वाढू शकतं. आणि म्हणून हाही खूप चांगला एक पर्याय आहे. कसं असतं, मुळात रिझल्ट ओरिएंटेशनचा जर आपण विचार केला ना, तर लोकांना जसं मगाशी मी म्हणालो की अगदी लगेचच त्याच वेळी खूप जास्त उत्पन्न हवं असतं. आणि म्हणून बऱ्याचदा अडचणी होतात, कारण याचे परिणाम दिसायला तसा काहीसा काळ लागतो, पण ते नक्कीच शाश्वत असतात, पुढच्या दृष्टीने खूप चांगले असतात. आणि म्हणून ते त्याप्रमाणे केलं तर त्याचे जास्त चांगले परिणाम होऊ शकतील.
ओके सर.
येस, कुणीतरी केलं होतं ना आता हँड रेस.
गोकुळ सर, परत क्वेरी आहे का तुम्हाला? गोकुळ जातो.
गुड इव्हनिंग सर.
हा शेडगे सर बोला.
सर, माझा एक प्रश्न असा आहे या अनुषंगाने. नाशिकच्या संदर्भात एक आहे की नाशिकच्या जवळ साधारण एक 7-8 किलोमीटरच्या अंतरावरती नाशिक एकलेरा थर्मल पॉवर स्टेशन्स आहे. त्या ठिकाणी खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणावरती डॅम्स कन्स्ट्रक्शन केलेले की जे फ्लाय ॲश त्या ठिकाणी जमा होत आहे. पण आता सध्या परिस्थिती अशी आहे त्याच्यामध्ये की ती फ्लाय ॲश बऱ्यापैकी उचलण्याचं काम चालू आहे, जेणेकरून रस्ते असेल किंवा आपल्याकडे आपण आता एसीसी ब्लॉक्स बघतो बघा, ते ब्लॉकसाठी त्याचा उपयोग त्याच्यामध्ये मोठ्या प्रमाणावरती केला जातो. पण ज्यावेळेस एक राग ज्यावेळेस गाडीमधून घेऊन जातात त्यामध्ये, तर ती बऱ्यापैकी म्हणजे त्या डॅम मधून आजूबाजूची जी काही शेती आहे खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणावरती ती फ्लॅश हवेच्या माध्यमातून त्याच्यामध्ये उडते. आणि साधारण तरी काय त्या सॉइलचा भविष्यामध्ये परिणाम होईल असं मला एक विचारायचं होतं तुम्हाला.
नाही, आता कंटेंट वाईज त्या ऍश मध्ये मला वाटतं कोल ऍश असते ती ना.
येस सर, येस.
तर त्याच्यात खूप फार जास्त काय किती ती उडल्याने अशी असेल असं मला नाही वाटत. नाही एक्झॅक्टली माहित नाही मला प्रश्न किती याच्यात होतो.
खूप उडते सर तिथे. आणि साधारण त्या बाजूत म्हणजे बऱ्यापैकी गाव आहे तिथं, कोटमगाव, हिंगणवेडे असे जे गाव आहे. तर मग आता ठीक आहे, पावसाळ्याच्या याच्यामध्ये ती लोक काही विरोध करत नाही, पण ज्यावेळेस उन्हाळा असतो तर त्या उन्हाळ्याच्या वेळेस अक्षरशः ती लोक विरोध करतात, ते डॅम बंद करायला लावतात की तुम्ही चालवूच नका ते पूर्ण डॅम, तर आमची शेतीचं नुकसान होतंय. असं खूप वेळेस आम्ही बघितलंय मी स्वतः.
नाही, कारण कंटेंट वाईज तर त्याच्यात तसं ऑर्गॅनिकच हे असतं, म्हणजे ती त्याच्यात डिग्रेड व्हायला नको. त्याचे तोटे एवढेच होत असतील की टेक्स्चर वाईज क्ले कंटेंट वाढल्यामुळे ती सॉइल चिकट बनणं, तिचे बाकीचे जे इतर फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीजमुळे जे काय तोटे होतात ना, नुकसान, ते मोठ्या प्रमाणावरती होत असेल. त्यामुळे एरिएशन कमी होणं किंवा पाणी द्यायला त्यांना अडचणी येणं, ते भाग कमी होत असेल त्या क्ले या ऍशमुळे.
कारण की तो जो डॅम आहे आता ज्यावेळेस जे थर्मल पॉवर स्टेशन, त्या थर्मल पॉवर स्टेशन मध्ये ज्यावेळेस ती ऍश पाण्याबरोबर त्या डॅम मध्ये सोडली जाते आणि ज्यावेळेस ते पाणी पर्क्युलेट होतं, ते पर्क्युलेट झालेलं पाणी पुन्हा दारणा रिव्हरला येऊन मिळतं.
ओके
हा एक प्रश्न तिथे असं.
हा म्हणजे सिरियस आहे तसं वेगळे.
हो हो.
ते मुळात ते पाण्याकडे जायलाच नको ती ऍश, कारण इकडे तर बघितलं ना म्हणजे चंद्रपूर वगैरे तर मोठमोठे असे डोंगर ते झालेत ऍशचे अक्षरशः.
हा हा.
थर्मल याचा हे आहेच आहे बऱ्याचशा ठिकाणी तो.
हा
फक्त ते
प्रॉब्लेम
हा
नगरचा जो इथं साईडचा भिंगार साईडचा पार्ट आहे ना, तर तिथं नवीन खडी क्रेशर मशीन बसवले आणि त्यांचं पण शेतकऱ्यांचा सेमच प्रॉब्लेम आहे. ते खडी क्रेशर मुळे जी धूळ उडते ना, तर त्याच्यामुळे तिथल्या लोकांना बरंच म्हणजे ब्रेदिंगला सुद्धा त्रास.
नाही, हे परत प्रश्न जे मी मगाशी म्हणालो ना, की आपण शेती महत्वाचं मानून अशा प्रकारचे प्रोजेक्ट त्या भागामध्ये कितपत येऊ देणं, कारण फॅक्ट्स अशा असतात. आता इथे नियम सांगायला गेलं तर या प्रत्येक युनिटला त्याला EIA म्हणतात, म्हणजे यांना एन्व्हायरमेंटल इम्पॅक्ट असेसमेंट करायचं असतं खरं तर. त्याचं सर्टिफिकेशन मिळाल्याशिवाय लोक पुढे करू शकत नाहीत. पण असे बरेच प्रोजेक्ट आहेत की जे आल्यानंतर, सुरू झाल्याच्या नंतर उशिराने प्रश्न असे जाणवायला लागतात. आता माहित नाही ते EIA कसे करतात, त्याच्यापेक्षा वेगळे याच्यानुसार हे कसं वाढतं आणि मग असे प्रश्न कसे निर्माण होतात ते. आणि म्हणून तर प्रॉपर शेतीला महत्व देऊन त्या प्रकाराने जर केलं ना तर हे थांबू शकतं खरं.
Okay, who's going to take the official vote of thanks?
Yes, sir. Sandeep Kolekar. Yeah. So may I proceed, sir?
दोनच मिनिटात तुला बरं वाटलं? Nice discussion.
Yes, sir.
Okay, once again I thank organizers and all participants.
Yes, sir. So thank you very much, Deore sir, for such a nice and informative talk. I am Sandeep again here to express formal vote of thanks for this session. First of all, I am express my gratitude to Dr. Sachin Deore sir for delivering such a nice informative talk on soil life and aliveness of the soil in core theory lecture series. Also, I am thankful to the principal of SP College Pune, Dr. Datar ma'am, head of department, SP College SP College Pune, Dr. Sunil Gaikwad sir. I am thankful on behalf of all participants to Dr. Devne sir, coordinator, and Dr. Dhole sir, co-coordinator of this coursework, for them restless effort for making this coursework successful in the background of COVID-19 pandemic. And last but not least, thank you to all participant research scholars for your actively participation in the deliberation. Thank you all of you.